In the headlines, Barbados wants fair and easy access to the Loss and Damage Fund. A fear there won't be enough fish for the Easter weekend. Another effort to clear sargassum seaweed from the south coast is on. And in sports, the Baby Gems shooters put on a show at the last night's Jean Pierre Tournament.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Welcome, I'm Tisha Hines with the details to the news. Government is making it clear that Barbados and other small island developing states want fair and easy access to the Loss and Damage Fund when the need arises. Minister of Environment, National Beautification, Blue and Green Economy, Adrian Ford, says this is critical to helping countries respond to climate change issues, especially extreme weather events. The fund was established at COP27 with the aim of providing financial assistance to developing countries most vulnerable to climate change impacts. Minister Ford made the country's position clear at the opening of the 5th board meeting of the fund, held at the Hilton Barbados Resort. Anesta Henry reports.
Minister Ford says the Loss and Damage Fund signifies international solidarity. But of particular importance, it must be a tool of practical fair play for small island developing states. He says for this to be achieved, there must be adequate capitalization and transparent accessibility to the financial resources.
The communities and the people who are most affected by serious climate events need to be assured that the Loss and Damage Fund is viable and can respond quickly to their needs.
The glancing blow of Hurricane Beryl left the fishing industry devastated, with more than 90% of the fishing fleet destroyed or damaged. Minister Ford says there was over $200 million in damage and hundreds of lives were disrupted.
After Hurricane Beryl, on the 1st of July, by the 2nd of July, the Prime Minister and the government, of course, had to respond with alacrity because we had families whose basic needs were still there. Their basic needs were ever present. The need to survive, to eat, to drink, to have shelter, food. Those needs were immediate. And so that's why the fund must operate with a measure of alacrity.
Meanwhile, Executive Director of the Loss and Damage Fund, Ibrahim Sheikh Diong, says the board has heard Minister Ford's call to accelerate any support the fund will provide to countries in need.
Barbados has been a leader in championing loss and damage for the past decades. Not only because you're affected by loss and damage, but your Prime Minister, your entire government has been extremely helpful in championing and making a call to action that get us to where we are today. So Barbados deserve a deep gratitude not only from this board, from the entire international community.
The Loss and Damage Fund was created at the 27th Conference of Parties in Egypt in 2022, following decades of campaigning by a coalition of Pacific Island nations and developing countries. Anesta Henry, CBC News.
The usual hustle and bustle synonymous with Easter at fish markets is almost non-existent so far this year. That's because several fish vendors say fish is not very plentiful at this time at all. However, at least one vendor says he has been able to break even despite the downturn. Rachel Agard visited the Borinda Cox Fish Market in Oysens and files this report.
Easter may not be as fruitful for some fish vendors as there is not an abundance of fresh fish to be sold. However, many of them are hopeful that as Holy Week approaches, more fish will be on hand for consumers ahead of the Easter weekend. Managing Director of Ropat's Fresh Fish, Antonia Sargent Rowe, says they have been relying heavily on fish processors this season.
If not for the frozen fish, we would be home. If not for the processors, we would be home, to be honest, because we usually get marlin and swordfish and kingfish, some kingfish from the processors. So now we have to use some dolphins now from them as well, because the fishermen are doing their best, which is going out there and searching the sea to bring in fish for us, for the community, for the people out there, but they can only do what they can do. And we can only do what we can do too, is sell what we have.
Fish vendor Wilma Hutchinson confirms the season is very slow, as she and others have not been getting the amount of fish needed to adequately supply customers. The problem isn't the fish, but that there aren't enough boats to go fishing.
That's the main thing now, that people are looking for a barracuda and kingfish and dolphin. And the boats ain't able to go due to the weather, how the wind blowing and stuff like that. You don't risk going out there in the small boats. And then a lot of the big boats that were damaged, still in repair as yet, that will be able to go in the ocean and bring the bigger fish and stuff like that. But right now it's slow, very slow.
Another vendor, Jean Millington, agrees the season is shaping up to be a poor one.
The boats are not bringing any fish. If they bring 1,000 flying fish when they go, that's enough. But poor this season. The boats ain't catching nothing. If they catch 4 dolphins, that's very, very, very poor. They ain't catching nothing at all. Season is very, very poor.
However, Joshua Green has a different outlook. He says business has been picking up as the weeks progress, with the dolphin being the fish of choice, and many are purchased whole.
People were caught and already fishing already. I got a lot of calls up to yesterday, last night, so the season's looking good. I have around 50 pounds of marlin, maybe 50 pounds of swordfish, 50 pounds of everything, but I'm going to make 100 pounds and go from there.
With the hope of more fish being caught, the market hours have been extended for an extra 90 minutes, closing at 7:30 p.m. daily. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
Thank you, Rachel. We definitely need our fish, so we hope things pick up. Now, negotiations are still ongoing between Pre-Conco Limited and the Barbados Workers Union, chaired by the Chief Labour Officer. This comes after over 40 employees of Pre-Conco walked off the job 2 weeks ago, citing deep dissatisfaction with working conditions, including inadequate wages and health and safety concerns. BWU's Deputy General Secretary Dwayne Paul says workers returned to work last week, but they insist that outstanding matters are still unresolved.
Arising from those meetings is a commitment from the company to compensate staff for safety issues not provided. In addition, the Health and Safety section of the Ministry of Labour will conduct reviews of key pieces of equipment identified by the staff to have challenges. The parties during the course of this week will continue negotiations towards resolving the matter of salaries and wages. In addition, dates will also be set to address the other issues raised by staff. The Barbados Workers Union is committed to ensuring that all the matters tabled by staff are adequately addressed in the shortest possible time.
The compulsory and comprehensive training program for public service vehicle operators is being lauded by a veteran of the industry who is about to complete the course. Maynard Paul says he is already reaping the benefits of the training, which is designed to improve service standards, safety and professionalism. He spoke to our Anesta Henry about his experience.
Maynard Paul says the mandatory public service vehicle operators training has given him much more than he expected. The course involves the sessions on customer service, road safety, insurance regulations, CPR training, defensive driving, and workplace wellness. He says registering for it is one decision he will never regret making. This coming Sunday, Paul will be attending the last of his 4 training sessions offered by the Barbados Community College's Industry Services Unit.
We get to learn a lot all about health and if you can help some person and how to do CPR if somebody choking, how to hold them and so on. Yeah, I like it. I love it. It's only for 4 weeks. Don't mind it short, and then you get to learn a lot too about insurance and insurance policies, and you know what I mean, and making and how them is make their money.
Mr. Paul, who has been driving public service vehicles since 1998, says one of the important aspects of the training involves teaching PSV operators how to transport their passengers safely and comfortably while also respecting their needs.
How you treat your customers and how to interact with people, you know what I mean, and how to show them around and get them to understand what you really do, and the yeses and the no's.
He is also impressed with the program's encouragement of participants to focus on self-development.
It teaches you that there's a lot of different courses out there that I never know about, that you can go and learn and investigate. It might be a little pricey, but they got ways and meanings that even though it is pricey, they got terms and conditions that you can pay to help yourself for the future ahead of you. And it teaches you not to give up, because, okay, if you're at the age of 60, 70, 80, that's not the end of it. That's not the end of the world. You know, there's more to life than death.
And Mr. Paul is already urging his counterparts to sign up for the training sessions.
You can't really get to all of them, but the most I was interact with, I try to encourage you to come see what it's all about, see if you're all gonna like it, and tell me one of the experience, because I could tell one of my experience, and it was a very, very, very good training. You can get in contact with a nice lady. Her name is Margot. I can't remember her last name right now. And the second lady, her name is Shirley. And the two of them is excellent teachers, and they bring all different people that is out there that in different professions to teach us and make us learn so much.
Chief Executive Officer of Hague Communications, Inc., Joyanne Hague, says the courses, which started earlier this year, are going well.
So far, 45 people graduated this year on March the 16th, 2025. That was a combination of two cohorts. We're now into the third cohort, and that will be completed on April the 13th. And that's a total of 34 individuals that would have had the pleasure of completing that course. We would like to take this opportunity right now, however, to remind all of the other drivers and conductors who have not registered as yet with the Barbados Community Colleges Industry Services Unit to do so as soon as possible, because this certification is now mandatory.
The PSV operator training course costs $200, and it is being held at the Jean and Norma Holder Hospitality Institute. Onesta Henry, CBC News.
Great initiative. Now, while some local businesses may be considering investing in the U.S. market to avoid the 10% reciprocal tariffs imposed by the Donald Trump administration on April 5th, it is not feasible for all exports. For example, as it relates to rum produced in Barbados, there are special considerations, as explained by Minister in the Ministry of Finance, Ryan Strawn.
Not rum, because clearly, again, the rum as a mechanism for geographic indicator. Barbados is rum, so you're not talking about rum, because in the same way that champagne is a region in France, rum is Barbados. Barbados is rum. So rum is not one of those things. No, rum is not one of those things that you can just take up and go outside of Barbados and do and get the premium that you want.
You can catch that full interview on the implications of the U.S. tariffs on Barbados tonight at 8:03 p.m. on In the Know with Crystal Hoyt. Well, coming up, another effort begins to clean up sargassum seaweed from the South Coast. Barbados and Cuba are working on a pilot program using its biological rodenticide Biorat. Head of the technical staff at the group of biotechnological companies, Labiofam in Cuba, Mevi Hernandez Rodriguez, provided further insight into the initiative. The Biorat pest control method is used in anti-rat campaigns to reduce rat and mice populations to levels that do not represent a risk for health and the economy.
The idea is to do the trials with the objective to evaluate the effectiveness and innocuousness of this product in different places in Barbados. We are working with the people from the Ministry of Health, the Health Environmental Department, and Vector Control Unit, and the people from the BADMC and the Pesticide Board that belong to the Ministry of Agriculture. And of course, Export Barbados, they give us the logistics support. So currently we are in the first phase.
The South Coast is once again blanketed with the pesky sargassum seaweed that has become an eyesore along the island's coasts. However, a group of 131 individuals are working through the sargassum seaweed removal program under the Ministry of Environment and National Beautification and the Blue and Green Economy to rid the coast of the seaweed. They were in Oistins this morning clearing the weed. CBC News understands the program started in January, with the group beginning clearing from Hilton, Barbados, and they will traverse up the coast to Sam Lord's Castle. Other areas beyond the South Coast earmarked for cleaning are Bathsheba in St. Joseph and Bath in St. John. The seaweed will be stored at Bath on clay land, so it doesn't affect the aquifers, and will be used as mulch for ornamental plants. 4 students are recipients of this year's Rotary Club of Barbados West academic scholarships. Rakaya Goodrich, Scott Wharton, Shania Graham, and Emily Wharton have qualified for the scholarship, which is exclusively for study at a Caribbean university and takes the form of an educational grant of Barbados $5,000 per year for the duration of the course of study. During a scholarship award ceremony, Minister of Training and Tertiary Education Sandra Husbands congratulated the recipients and encouraged them to use the scholarships wisely.
I'm always moved by the fact that we have young people of caliber, young people of quality, and young people that it is worthy to invest in you and invest in your lives. I also want to sincerely thank the Rotary Club. While we often take for granted those around us who offer support for the various things that we do as a country, as a nation, we fail to understand that there are a set of Barbadians whose hearts are filled with a fervor for service to others.
President of the Rotary Club of Barbados West, Gregory Hazard, says the 25-year program has a high success rate.
Very few of our more than 40 scholars have failed to complete their course of study, and several of them have obtained first-class honors bachelor's degrees. No pressure, Rakaya, Scott, Shania, and Emily. The program's high success rate is set against a backdrop of our scholarship not being an academic one. Once you can gain entry to a course of study at the University of West Indies, you have passed the academic hurdle. After that, we evaluate our applicants based purely on financial need. For those awarded scholarships, we pay all of the expenses not covered by the government of Barbados, including guild fees, books, transportation, etc. And we do this for the duration of the course of study, typically 3 or 4 years.
Sports Night, brought to you with the compliments of Great Health Works, agents for Omega XL.
Well, Damien Best is here. That means it's sports time.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tisha. Good evening to you. Good evening to our viewers and listeners. Well, the Barbados Baby Gems continue to dominate at the 21st Jean Pierre Caribbean Youth Netball Tournament, registering another dominant win, this time over Dominica, 41-16. Playing last evening at the Worldy Gym, the shooters were in impeccable form, led by Mikel Allen with 29 goals from 31 attempts, while there were 100% shooting records for Taisha Trotman, 6 from 6, Taya Griffith, 2 from 2, and Brianna Wallace, 4 from 4. For Dominica, Deanne Augustine netted 6 from 10, and Valinda Watson, 10 from 16. Here are some highlights.
This game is at a fast clip at this level. is not that small. She tried to get in between the two players and the ball. Yes, defenses were out of the circuit, so the ball went right into the arm-busting of Dominica. I think that is good for the game. These are youngsters, and it's good that they have support.
And it would have been encouraging to some of these players.
Passes it back out, passes it right through her hand. This is the first through-hand pass I've seen. That's the end.
Well, also winners last evening were Trinidad and Tobago, who beat Grenada 30-19, and St. Lucia dominated Antigua and Barbuda 31-7. Today and tomorrow are rest days for Team Barbados. Their next match is against St. Lucia on Thursday from 8 p.m., of course, back at the Wildy Gym. This year's Republic Bank Sir Charles Williams International Game Fishing Tournament is expected to generate $2.55 million. The annual three-day event, which begins tomorrow at the Port St. Charles Marina in St. Peter, features 38 teams with prizes worth $140,000, marking the biggest prize purse in the Caribbean. Director and organizer of the Barbados Game Fishing Association, Michael Paris, provided a sneak peek into plans for tomorrow's opening day.
There'll be 40 boats in here. We'll be moving out at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we'll be traveling to that rock. What's that rock called?
Rampus.
Rampus. We'll be traveling to Rampus in a big long line. It will take there and back the amount of boats we have in the armada of fishing fleet. So they'll lead out down to Sand Street, go around the buoy and come back up, and then line up here by 6:30 to take off fishing. And we're creating that to highlight the beauty of Barbados shores, our aquamarine water, the fishing component of it, and we're showcasing our Coast Guard, the safety of it. We're doing all of that to develop this area as a beautiful area for this type of activity.
Meantime, Minister of Labour, Social Security and the Third Sector, a Member of Parliament for St. Peter, Colin Jordan, said the tournament is a big boost.
This is important because it adds something to the mix. We've had the fishers before at the jetty, but having so large a tournament really adds to the portfolio of activities and attractions that will bring additional people, well, create the interest first in Spike Sound, and then bring additional people into the town and into the environs of the town, because we are not in the town center here, but we consider this part of the greater Spike Sound area.
Well, the first event, the Bimini, will start at 6 a.m. outside Port St. Charles.
The Business Report, brought to you by the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme, a department of the Ministry of Youth and Community Empowerment, supporting young entrepreneurs from idea to enterprise.
Efforts are being made to expose young people to entrepreneurship. Minister of Sport, Youth and Community Empowerment Charles Griffith spoke about the initiatives as he addressed the recently held $20 Challenge Awards ceremony of the Barbados Entrepreneurship Foundation. Trevor Thorpe reports.
Expanding the youth entrepreneurship scheme into schools and developing young people and setting them on a path for success are at the core of the initiative. Minister of Youth, Sport and Community Empowerment Charles Griffith says it is important to get young people to understand that entrepreneurship is a viable option in today's world.
The team at the ministry would have engaged the university to certify the training now that is coming from the YES program. It is important because all of us are aware that you're not going to go to a doctor
who you believe is not qualified. And if our young people who are involved in self-employment, entrepreneurship, can provide or show a document in their business that I would have gone through an extensive period of training and we have reached the other end, then it means that instead of charging you $15, I can charge you an extra $5 because I know what I'm dealing with. And these are some of the things that the ministry will continue to do. Like I said, one of the things that we're hoping to do is to expand our program, to go into the schools as well, to provide an opportunity for those youngsters to whet their appetite about the possibility that entrepreneurship is a viable option in today's world.
The development of YES is a work in progress, and all hands are on deck with the development of young people in Barbados.
I know that my team 5 years ago got involved in the process of supporting this initiative because we believe that it is something that we can benefit from by expanding our program, by having another entity be involved in the process of developing our young people as far as entrepreneurship is concerned.
Minister Griffith acknowledged the sponsorship citation YES received from the foundation. He says training is good for the advancement of the person as well as the enterprise.
Again, I want to celebrate my young people who have done well. I mean, from what I saw in the room and what I saw via the video, your products are strong. I need for you to believe in self, because at the end of the day, if you believe in self, you will do what you're supposed to do to ensure that success is at the finish line. To the parents, I want you to support them. Feel free to engage my ministry through the Ministry of YES, through the Department of YES, if you need further assistance in terms of how you are going to grow the business and to ensure that best practices ensue at the end of the day. But remember, the one thing that I want you to take away from me standing here is to sell service first and then offer them your product.
Officials are in unison in their message, saying young people are not waiting for the future. They are shaping it today through innovation and hard work and vision. Trevor Thorpe for the YES Business Report.
Ambassador to CARICOM David Comichong says Barbados continues to intensify cooperation with Cuba, working on every conceivable area. These, he says, range from trade to education and agriculture. He says the cooperation comes against the background of the U.S. trade embargo. Ambassador Comichong was a guest on the Conversations on CARICOM segment on CBC TV8's Morning Barbados.
That makes it difficult because we have to kind of jump through hoops. We have to try to circumvent many of those restrictive things that the U.S. has put in place. And I especially mention it because just past Sunday the 6th of April, we commemorated the 65th anniversary of the infamous U.S. State Department memorandum, the Lester-Mallory Memorandum of 6 April 1960, that actually set up that whole sanctions program against Cuba.
Sports Night, brought to you with the compliments of Great Health Works, agents for Omega XL.
Well, Barbados Pride are hoping to overturn an 11-point deficit to leaders and defending champions Ghana Harpy Eagles heading into the 7th and final round of the 2025 Cricket West Indies 4-Day Championship, which is set to bowl off tomorrow. The Harpy Eagles have 111.6 points, while the Pride are third with 100 points following round 6 results. The Pride are sitting 7.9 points ahead of the Leeward Islands Hurricanes, who are in 4th, but they're also behind second place Trinidad and Tobago Red Force, who are on 105.4 points. Barbados captain Craig Bathwaite is confident they can still push for the title as they go up against the Hurricanes at Warner Park in St. Kitts, while Harpy Eagles will visit the Red Force in a top-of-the-table clash at Queen's Park Oval. Well, defending Premier League champions Weymouth Wales have stretched their lead at the top of the standings after a clinical 4-1 victory over Wharton at the BFA Technical Centre in Wildy in their latest fixture. Wales moved to 36 points, while Kickstart Rush are 5th on 18 points and Ellerton just ahead on 19.
Pride of Gall Hill in the blue playing Ellerton. In this early fixture, Ellerton should have opened the scoring in the first half. However, goalkeeper Greg Jones was alert and thwarted the effort. Gall Hill also went close. The Ellerton defence left stranded, and the keeper comes to the top of the 6-yard box and puts out the mini fire. Something had to give. 32nd minute, a broken play in the danger zone, and Shane Codrington is quickest to respond. Exactly what Ellerton wanted before the break. 1-0 then at half-time. Gall Hill had some glorious chances to draw level in the early stages of the second, and they were finally rewarded when Tyrese Crawford found his bearings, and the left boot ensured that they shared the points. This one ends Ellerton 1, Pride of Gall Hill 1. Second match, kickstart rush, battling paradise in the Caribbean blue. The Dover boys with a free kick and a nightmare for Chris Cobley. Got to do better, son. Gerard Maxius says thank you so much. 1-0. Fast forward, 40th minute, kickstart with a chance. Ethan Squires, first effort misses by a whisker, but his second is money in the bank. Locked at 1-1 then at the break. Let's head to the second. Dead ball situation is a real problem for defences this afternoon. Jaria Malcolm gets a fingertip on it, but Dimitri Diasco and others will celebrate. The boys in the shocking pink lead 2-1. Paradise would copy and paste this one from the training ground. Raymar Walters with brilliant footwork, and the cross was surgical. Tyra Reyes-Demon dunk off the forehead and in. Tied at 2 apiece. That was the 71st minute, but 12 minutes later, kickstart rush would put their nose in front again. Teamwork making the dream work. Jomo Harris accused of tripping the player in the box. Referee says that is definitely a penalty. Sikani Mears from 12 yards. Malcolm with the big-time save. Loving it. Malcolm had to be on his P's and Q's. 83rd minute, more action. Here comes kickstart. Header save, but in the right place at the right time is the unmarked Sachin Cox. 3-2. Kickstart would seal the deal in the second minute of time added on after handball in the box. Cox steps up from the penalty spot and deposits into the V. Kickstart rush with the 4-2 victory over Paradise. The feature match bringing together Wotton and Weymouth Wales in their traditional green. Wales up 1-0, carved open though this time. Darian King in space for Wotton. Takes a hand to the face and goes down in agony. Penalty coming. Keon Harding, cool as ever. 1-1 then. Wales, with a minor blemish, made up for it immediately in first half injury time. Talk about threading the needle. Armando Sugar Lashley pokes it home. 2-1 at the break. Second half business, change of ends. Wotton pay the price for sloppy defending. Shaquille Stewart on the doorstep. 3-1 then. 53 minutes gone in the contest. He would get his brace in the 66th minute with Wotton's offside trap completely failing. 3 options waiting. Stewart should not and does not miss from that range. 4-1. The game could have ended 6-0 after Wales were denied from the penalty spot. But Romario Herwood closed out the fixture with the cherry on top in the 84th minute. Strolls to the goal mouth. So it ends 5-1 in favour of Wales over Wotton.
And that's news. Thanks so much for viewing. Do enjoy the rest of your evening.